Today, our topic will be the rise and fall of Chinese dynasties and their institutional systems. First, I would like to put forward two questions. Both were dynasties that unified the entire country. Why did the Qin Dynasty collapse after only 15 years, while the Han Dynasty was able to remain stable for as long as 400 years? And why did Emperor Chongzhen, who governed for 17 years, worked late into the night every day, and even wore robes with patches, finally witness the fall of his kingdom and end his own life? These are truly profound questions. Many people have offered overly simple explanations, claiming that the rise and fall of a dynasty depended on whether the emperor was wise and virtuous, or whether the army was strong. Some even blamed beautiful women for causing chaos, or treacherous officials for disrupting the court. Yet all of these are merely superficial phenomena. The core reason behind the rise and fall of dynasties has always lain in whether their institutional frameworks were continuously improved and developed. Next, I will analyze clearly the historical position of each dynasty, how they upgraded their systems, the key turning points they experienced, and why they eventually collapsed. What follows contains essential and valuable knowledge. To fully understand the laws governing the rise and fall of all dynasties, we must start with the Qin Dynasty. In 221 BCE, Qin Shi Huang conquered and unified the 6 major warring states, putting an end to centuries of division and warfare that had lasted since the Spring and Autumn and Warring States periods. He established the first unified, centralized feudal dynasty in Chinese history. This dynasty lasted only 15 years and saw the reign of just 2 emperors. Some say Qin Shi Huang's greatest achievement was unifying the 6 states. In fact, that was only half of his success. What truly makes him great is that he built a unified operating system for a land that had been divided for more than 500 years. All subsequent dynasties, from the powerful Tang Dynasty to the Ming and Qing dynasties, were essentially just fixing bugs and making improvements based on the foundation laid by the Qin, never breaking out of this core framework. This early operating system established by the Qin Dynasty rested on 3 core pillars. 1. Unified writing, standardized carriage gauges, and uniform weights and measures. No matter which state you had previously belonged to, after unification, everyone had to use the same script, build roads of the same width, and trade with the same units of measurement. This served as the fundamental source code for national unity. Much like setting unified coding standards and communication protocols for all devices, it completely removed cultural and informational barriers between different regions. It allowed the concept of unity to spread to every corner of the empire and take root in the hearts of every citizen. 2. Abolition of the feudal enfeoffment system, implementation of the commanderies and counties system. This step directly broke the long-standing rule that nobles could inherit power generation after generation. It centralized 4 core powers: administrative, military, financial, and personnel management under the central government. A complete vertical management structure was established, extending from the central authority down to commanderies, counties, and local villages. This was similar to replacing independently running applications, which could be removed or modified at will, with built-in system functions where all authority is controlled centrally. Local governments lost the ability to secede, fundamentally eliminating the risk of rebellion by regional lords. 3. Establishment of the 3 dukes and 9 ministers system. This completely transformed the model of governing the country, which had previously relied on the household servants of aristocrats, and established a formal imperial bureaucracy. The Grand Chancellor oversaw civil administration, the Grand Commandant managed military affairs, and the Censor-in-Chief was responsible for supervision and discipline. These 3 senior officials held clearly divided powers, which checked and balanced one another. Under them were the 9 ministers, each in charge of a specific sector of state affairs or imperial household matters.
The entire system operated strictly and clearly. No single person could hold absolute power, fundamentally closing the loophole that would allow powerful ministers to override imperial authority. So why did this seemingly perfect system collapse after only 15 years? The root cause was not a flaw in the commanderies and counties system or centralization itself, but rather that after unifying the country, the Qin dynasty failed to address a critical issue. Conquering an empire and governing an empire are 2 fundamentally different tasks, and the Qin never successfully made that transition. First, after unification, the Qin continued to maintain the wartime governance structure, applying harsh laws that were only suitable for periods of conflict to the entire nation, which had now expanded vastly in territory. In the past, people could advance through military merit, but later, the military merit system became a tool of exploitation, causing immense suffering to the people. Second, the conscription of labor was uncontrolled. 70% of the country's able-bodied men were drafted to build the Great Wall, the Yipang Palace, and the first emperor's mausoleum, leaving insufficient manpower for agricultural production. Combined with heavy taxation, where people had to surrender 2/3 of their income to the state, life became extremely difficult. The saying, "the whole nation has long suffered under Qin rule," originates precisely from this hardship. Third, the incident at the sand mound became the catalyst for the Qin's collapse. Qin Shi, the second emperor, and the eunuch Zhao Gao conspired to purge loyal officials from the court, while further intensifying harsh policies and oppressing the common people, directly destroying the dynasty's governing foundation. Finally, the remaining political forces of the 6 conquered states had not been completely eliminated. The commanderies and counties system had not truly penetrated to the grassroots level in these former territories. The people in these regions had never developed genuine loyalty to the Qin dynasty, nor had they formed a shared identity as citizens of a unified empire. When all these problems erupted simultaneously, the Qin dynasty was destined to fall. Although the Qin collapsed, the fundamental source code for national unity it left behind was fully preserved. The first dynasty to revise and upgrade this system was the Han Dynasty. What fatal flaws did they fix, and what new risks did they inadvertently plant? Let's continue our analysis. The Han Dynasty is divided into the Western Han and Eastern Han, lasting for a total of 405 years. It is the longest-lasting unified dynasty in Chinese history, ruled by 24 emperors. After Liu Bang founded the Han Dynasty, he did not rigidly copy the Qin system. Instead, he implemented a mixed system of commanderies and principalities. In core regions such as Guangdong and Bashu, he retained the commanderies and counties system to firmly control the empire's financial and military lifelines. In the former territories of the 6 eastern states, he granted titles and land to imperial relatives to maintain stability. This transitional and moderate approach quickly stabilized the nation. This was a crucial step, allowing the Han to immediately avoid the trap that had doomed the Qin, forcing a new system onto the people too abruptly, leaving its governance foundation unstable and leading to rapid collapse. It was like an early operating system upgrade that ensured backward compatibility. Core areas used the original structure, while newly acquired regions adopted an interim system, preventing the system from crashing immediately. From this point, the Han Dynasty developed the unified centralized structure created by Qin Shi Huang, transforming it from an incomplete framework into a comprehensive and rigorous system in every aspect. This laid the foundation for later eras of prosperity, such as the reign of Emperor Wu, the revival of Zhao and Xuan in the Western Han, and the restoration by Emperor Guangwu and the governance of Ming and Zhang in the Eastern Han. The person who perfected this system to its peak and closed all fatal loopholes was Emperor Wu of Han, through 3 major institutional reforms. 1. Issuance of the decree of favoring the feudatories. This is arguably the most brilliant political strategy in history. Without firing a single arrow or mobilizing a single soldier, this policy gradually divided and weakened the fiefdoms of regional lords, breaking the cycle that had plagued Emperor Jing of Han, where any attempt to reduce regional power immediately triggered rebellion. Put simply, this decree was a perfect patch for the problem of feudal power. By splitting the concentrated authority of princes into countless smaller parts, the former principalities were eventually absorbed into the central government's commanderies and counties system. It completely eliminated the remaining risk of regional secession and consolidated the foundation of national unity. Abolition of all schools of thought, exclusive promotion of Confucianism. Emperor Wu adopted Confucian ideology, which was highly compatible with the goal of unification, to affirm the legitimacy of the concept of the divine right of kings, making the idea of unity an unquestionable truth. More importantly, he closely linked Confucian doctrine with education and the path to officialdom, completely fixing the fatal flaw of the Qin dynasty, having only an institutional framework but lacking popular consensus. This policy equipped the centralized system with a unified ideological core. It was like providing an operating system with a standardized user manual and basic rules of operation. From court officials to ordinary citizens, everyone shared a common set of values, ending the situation seen in the Qin, having a structural framework but lacking universal recognition. establishment of the recommendation and inspection system. This system broke the aristocratic monopoly on hereditary power and created a path for talented individuals from the general public to enter the government, attracting capable people from across the empire to join the central bureaucracy. Thanks to this optimized system, the Han Dynasty achieved unprecedented prosperity, and the identity of the Han Chinese became deeply ingrained in the bloodline of the Chinese people. However, unbeknownst to many, hidden behind this golden age, fatal vulnerabilities in the system had long been planted. The first flaw lay within the recommendation and inspection system itself. It lacked objective and specific evaluation criteria, relying entirely on the subjective recommendations of local officials. Since most of these officials came from powerful aristocratic families, they naturally prioritized recommending relatives, associates, and students from their own circles. Over time, the power to select talent was monopolized by local authorities and great clans, leading to a situation described as those born into powerful families rise to high positions regardless of their incompetence. Those with talent from humble backgrounds remain in lowly posts. The central government lost the initiative in personnel selection, and the court became filled with representatives serving only the interests of powerful clans. The second flaw, the core principles of exclusive promotion of Confucianism gradually became distorted. Original concepts such as divine right of kings, heavenly warnings, and governing the nation through filial piety were gradually turned into tools for power struggles by imperial relatives and eunuchs. Prolonged internal conflicts steadily weakened imperial authority. The central court lost its ability to govern, decrees failed to be implemented, and corruption spread everywhere. The third, and most fatal flaw, land annexation spiraled out of control. Powerful clans frantically seized land and concealed population figures, directly depleting the central government's tax base and conscription pool. This created an inescapable financial cycle. The central government lacked funds and troops, and could only watch as local clans grew stronger. As clans grew stronger, the central government became even weaker. Eventually, all these fundamental flaws erupted simultaneously. The Wugu case and the usurpation of power by Wang Mang shook the dynasty's foundation. The partisan prohibitions of the Eastern Han completely divided the court, and the Yellow Turban Rebellion shattered the already damaged governance system. Helpless, the central government authorized local authorities to raise their own armies, ultimately leading to the empire's fragmentation by warlords. Despite its immense prosperity, the Han Dynasty eventually collapsed because aristocratic clans grew too powerful, land was excessively concentrated, and imperial authority was undermined.